Hello, welcome to Soul Family Chat. And today I'm with Nayalla Lund, who's my special guest, and she's also known as Nayalla Soul Coach. And Nayalla is a creative and a poet and an intuitive and a channel of divine and ancient soul wisdom. And as a soul coach, Nayalla guides people back to their true selves through energy healing and spiritual mentoring and guidance. Welcome, Nayalla.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've known Nayalla for quite probably 2 or 3 years, I think, maybe longer, mainly through Twitter, and it's always been a delight to connect with you. And Nayalla's been on some of my Soul Family Chat Sacred Circles, and it's always been a delight to be with Nayalla. And we have something in common. We're both from the great northeast of England.
Yeah, that's right.
and unfortunately, I moved south, so I don't have that beautiful northeast accent anymore. Anyway, it's people from the northeast, salt of the earth, as they say. Anyway, welcome and lovely to have you here. We were talking earlier this week at Nayalla, and you were sharing some of your experiences from your childhood that were really quite dramatic, and I'm interested just to talk to you about that and how it kind of shaped who you are today, how that contributed to your spiritual awakening and unfoldment of the gifts that you have.
Yeah, sure. Before I start, what I just want to make clear is obviously part of my life has involved other people. So when I speak about other people in my story, it's not to put me as a victim or to put them as a perpetrator. I just want to make it clear, sort of a little disclaimer, that it's just me saying what happened. I think it's really important that we move forward from that. So it's like things happened, but they've shaped me and made me who I am right now. So I don't want anybody to throw negative energy at the energy that I share if somebody's done something to me, because I know on my journey I've upset people as well, either intentionally because I've been upset and not in a good place myself, or unintentionally as well. You know, that's part of human story, part of humans evolution as we come out of this darker energy as well. So firstly, I was very ill when I was young. I think my mum said I was about 15 months old when I had something called whooping cough. I actually nearly died. I was in a really bad way. And I actually had a memory of it this summer. It cleared out a lot of trauma. I wasn't able to go further back up until this summer. So it really showed me that that's probably my first spark of empathy, but also seeing the world from a very aware place. I was very self-aware from a very young age as well. I could see my parents, you know, in great turmoil because obviously they didn't want to lose me and they didn't know what to do. You know, they felt very out of control. So I moved into this place of sort of being a lot more mature for my age. You know, I would hold things in a lot. I didn't want my parents to know how much pain I was in, or if I was, you know, struggling, because I didn't want to see that pain on their face. So I think that's probably when it first started for me, of being spiritually aware as well, although I didn't know any of that at the time because I was brought up in an atheist household. So we didn't speak about God or spiritual things. So that's very interesting as well, that I was able to see these things and had nobody really to speak to about it, and I picked up things and had nobody to speak to about it either. So yeah, I would say things in family gatherings, like be able to pick up things intuitively, and it used to spook people. And again, I learned quickly, you don't say certain things. It's just not received very well. So yeah, after that experience, obviously, don't know if you know whooping cough, but when you've got it, you have a cough that is very loud, almost like a dog barking. So I'm aware now that obviously people would have been looking at me in quite a strange way as well, being a very little thing with this huge, not very nice noise coming out of them. So again, that was part of my journey of being a very quiet person, keep my head down and like out of the way, because obviously from a young age it's been received when I open my mouth, I'm getting these strange looks and it's not received very well.
How long was that period?
I'm not sure exactly, but through my whole childhood I had issues, not being able to breathe very well. I remember my mum doing certain sort of massage on my chest to get up a load of phlegm. So I think most of my childhood I was ill with one thing or another from that. Yeah, I couldn't actually tell you how long I had whooping cough for, just that it did take a lot out of me. So yeah, the next thing, not too long after that, is my family took a trip to Ireland and stayed with my dad's friend and his children. There was me and my brother, and we were all playing together. And one of my dad's friend's children actually scratched my face, and I've still got some of the scars there. So there was like a little seed from the illness and the cough, that people were like receiving me in a way that I didn't fully understand, and obviously being scratched on my face as well, it kind of just planted a seed that, hang on a minute, like I'm being treated a certain way, there must be something wrong with me. And then that theme just sort of stuck with me for my whole life. And it was like, when I try and speak my truth, it's not received very well. Things are happening because of the way I am and the way I look. Like I don't fit in this world. Like something just is wrong with me. So that made life very difficult for me. It brought on anxiety and, yeah, just me not being able to deal with the world very well, feeling like a complete and utter outsider. I did get bullied at school as well, so that just further confirmed that, yeah, maybe I just don't fit in this world. And that has really set me in good stead now, actually, to be able to have empathy for a lot of other people that have felt like an outsider or felt like they didn't belong, because there's a great big group of us that are misfits, and we've got amazing gifts and amazing talents, and we're all finding each other now, which I think is absolutely amazing. So yeah, that was the start of my my journey on the world.
You mentioned something to me earlier this week that you were a jockey at some point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was I found that really interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about that journey? But you also said there were similar to what you were just talking about. The way you were treated came up when you were a jockey as well.
Yeah, so I left home at 15 to train to be an apprentice jockey, and I enjoyed riding a lot, enjoyed spending time with the horses, but the whole environment is quite toxic, especially if you're very sensitive and very empathic. I really tuned in with the horses and got along with them great, but there's a very toxic energy to horse racing, and it's also very male dominated as well. So I, again, didn't really fit in. It's hard to explain, really, but it's very cliquey, and everybody is into everybody else's life. And obviously, being a very shy and quiet person, I kept myself to myself. So a lot of times people would make up stuff about me and try and tell me that my life was a certain way, like they knew my life better than I did, because it's obviously, if you don't know something, you just make it up. I was also body shamed as well. This actually affected my whole hormones in a way, because when I actually started riding, people were telling me that I needed to be a lighter weight. And actually, because I started in racing at 15 as well, I was very light. I think I was just like 6 stone, maybe 6.5 stone. So obviously, as I got older, I started putting on a little bit more weight, and people noticed that, and it wasn't received very well. And I was told to not eat. Basically, I was told to stop eating. I was also told to run with a plastic bag around me to sweat it off, sweat the fat off. And at the time, I was only like 7.5 stone as well. So yeah, I started just feeling really horrible about myself. I didn't like attention as well. You know, like I said, I just wanted to be at the back, blending in. So obviously, if you're riding a racehorse, there's big crowds of people, there's people watching you, and that was just like the worst situation for me ever. You know, horrible anxiety, and like didn't want to be there at all. So yeah, it was a very confusing and awkward situation. I also um, remember, I was thinking back after I'd spoke to you about that. I remember that that's where I first picked up one of my gifts as well, because I was able to pinpoint where a horse was hurting after I was riding it. So very often I could feel like if they had pain on their back, and I would tell people, and they would get somebody in like just to check the back, and I was absolutely spot on where the pain was, and they were like, "How are you doing that?" And I'm like, "Because I can feel it. I can
Wow,
feel it when
that's
I'm
amazing.
riding." Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of an indication that I had a gift there, of being able to feel things.
You're a junior horse whisperer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, well, so when we were talking earlier in the week, you were talking about relationships, and so some of these childhood experiences then affected how your relationships were. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I realize now is that what I was doing, it was finding the most hurt people, those people that were in so much pain. I would gravitate towards them, not realizing that it was because I was holding so much pain myself. So I stepped in as the savior and tried to save these people. And obviously they didn't want that, or they took advantage of that, and yeah, it just led to a very toxic situation, as many empaths go through, you know, with narcissistic abuse and other things as well. So it did get me into some not very nice situations. It also led me to believe that again that there's something wrong with me. Like I can't form good relationships here. Like I just felt that, you know, what's the point of me being here? You know, I get into situations and I just upset people, or it turns toxic, and yeah, it that looking back and reevaluating relationships, it made me also realize that I had to go in and I had to deep dive into myself, because what I was doing a lot of the time as well is I was trying to show people how to heal themselves, and trying to heal them for them as well, you know. And I was being not of a place of integrity really, because it was like, you need to heal, but the whole time I was not really healing myself properly. So
Yeah,
as
this is a really key point, isn't it, for everybody that's has these gifts and also is in this space, is that the desire to jump in and fix somebody else, because we're able to see it, but we don't
Yeah.
realize that they're mirroring what's in, you know, what's in us. And I mean, for me, I know from my experience, it's like a convenient distraction from my own healing to
Yeah.
go and help somebody else. And I know from my own experience as well that when I learn a new trick or new gift, sort of, I want to practice on somebody else
Yeah,
before
absolutely.
before I've even integrated
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
myself, and had it work for me. And
Yeah, and yeah, in the relationships as well, what I realized is I was getting myself in abusive relationships almost as a form of self-abuse in a way. You know, it was me getting into these situations for other people to be horrible to me because I felt I deserved it. I felt I deserved people to treat me that way. Like I had no confidence. I very very low self-esteem, and I realized that, you know, I did a lot of self-abusive things myself, so it was just an extension of that. Basically, you know, being in an abusive relationship was just an extension of what I was feeling about myself, you know, which was the lowest of the low. And you know that I deserved that. You know, I deserved these horrible things to happen to me. So I've took responsibility for that, and I think that's part of the healing journey as well, you know, where you have to take responsibility. You know, I didn't outright say to these people, oh yeah, treat me badly. But it was in me, you know, it was the vibration in me that I wasn't fully aware of. And I have to accept that I went into that relationship as well. You know, I chose to have that experience as well. It wasn't just one-sided. And that's helped me with my healing as well, you know, to look at the past in a completely different way, not as a victim, but as somebody that went through things. And I've used those experiences to help me grow and to bring more awareness and more enlightenment into my life, and using my life experiences to bring other people awareness and enlightenment as well.
thanks for sharing that. Is there a point then that you can remember where it starts to turn around, where you start to have the self-awareness, and you start to work on your healing in a very meaningful way?
I would say probably my daughter has been the most amazing gift in my life, as a complete angel. If it wasn't for her, you know, I don't even want to think where I would be, because I was just going further and further downhill. So obviously being pregnant really got me out of a lot of toxic ways of living, and being a mom as well. You know, I was still very very ill. I developed a lot of um, health issues, and when I had my daughter, I was still healing from anxiety. I was in a lot of pain with what I believe was celiac. So a lot of times I was doubled up in pain in bed. I've been in so much pain where I've literally had to crawl like from one side of the room to the other, or to the bathroom, because I just couldn't stand up. I had arthritis as well, and my joints were just flared up and in so much pain. And looking at my little daughter as a toddler, I thought, I've got to sort myself out here. I've got to find a way to be a good role model to her, and to be healthy enough that I can keep up with her as well, because I don't want her to see me in pain, and I don't want her to see me in bed all the time. I want to be you know, there with a lot of energy for her, because she's a very energetic child as well. So I thought, yeah, this is where I've got to sort myself out. And this is where I just thought I've got to hold myself accountable for life as well, for how I got to where I am right now. And that's basically what I did. I would say probably on the back end of 2012, maybe like 2014 is when I seriously started making changes in my life, basically, you know, eating a different way and finding modalities to help me deal with what was going on in my head and how to deal with life in a better way. And it's just escalated from there to where I've wanted to share that with other people, because I'm feeling better all the time and I want other people to feel better. And one by one, all my health issues have gone, and just feeling absolutely amazing right now. So I know what I'm doing and what I have done works, because it's proof. You know, I'm just getting healthier all the time. Whereas before, you know, when I was trying to guide people, I was in a not very good place. So it's no wonder it wasn't received very well, because they would be thinking, well, look at you, like you're not. How can you tell me that I need to do all these things when, like, you're not dealing with life very well yourself? But I think that's part of it as well. You know, it's okay not to deal with life very well, because those moments give us tools, they show us tools, and they make us stronger, and they give us more wisdom. That's really part of my message as well. You know, it's okay to fall, it's okay to get it wrong, it's okay to make mistakes. You know, it helps us grow.
Yes, absolutely. In the Vedic literature, they talk about, you know, creation and destruction. And I mean, people have different words for it. I think Mark Kahn calls it the expansion phase, and then there's the contraction. And this is it's part of life. And the way we've been brought up is that we judge the destructive phase or the contraction phase, and now that's bad and that's wrong, but that's just part of nature. It's actually how nature creates itself. And there's a very obvious example in nature of the four seasons for people that live in an hemisphere where they have four distinct seasons, and the trees in the fall, the trees lose their leaves, and then we go into the winter, the darkness and silence, and then the spring comes and everything grows again. And this is the cycle of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what's helped me on my healing journey as well. You know, tuning in with Earth and the cycles. You learn so much, so much by Mother Earth and what nature does.
Were there any particular teachers or healers or books or information that came to you during that sort of beginning of that healing?
Well, in I think it was 2004, I went through a bit of an awakening. Interestingly enough, I was having visions of kind of what is happening right now. I kept hearing power to the people and having visions of like really standing up for themselves. And I was also told that there would be a huge change on Earth, a ripple of change. I thought I was maybe going through some kind of mental breakdown, because I wasn't used to hearing things audibly. So to have that, it was scary. You know, it was really scary, because for a long time I'd kind of suppressed feeling things. It wasn't good to feel things, so I would self-medicate and push things away. And the divine spirit was like, no, you have to listen here. So I took myself to a bookshop, and I just randomly saw The Power of Now. So I read that book. That helped me a lot. Deepak Chopra, sorry. His work came into my awareness. To be honest, not really a lot of spiritual teachers that are in mainstream have come to me. It seems to be just the divine speaking to me a lot, and me channeling that through. Since I've started using YouTube, like, everybody is coming into my awareness, which is really good. Um, so yeah, I'm further learning now, and things that I've picked up along my journey is just like confirmation other people are feeling the same way and teaching very similar things. So that's nice. Yeah, but that book helped me a lot, and I still go back to it now and again.
The Power of
That's
Now.
It's a huge impact on my life. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And you mentioned Deepak Chopra, and I think today maybe the circles you and I move in, Deepak's probably considered a bit, on the pop commercial end now because he's such a
He's
rock
changed.
star, but it's really worth noting what a great contribution he made, back then, and I knew him very well because I was in Maharishi's transcendental meditation movement, and he worked very closely with Maharishi for quite some years, and I saw him speak live many times, and particularly this whole thing of the quantum mechanical body that he created was really profound, and I think many people have expanded on that, but his explanations of the quantum aspect of the body were really amazing. They had a big impact on me.
Yeah. To be honest, my journey has been very much the lone wolf, just learning through my own life experiences and my own connection with the divine spirit. So I noticed like a lot of terminology I use is I guess very different to other people's because I haven't really been on that mainstream path.
Mhm.
I haven't been to retreats or done these things that many other people have done. So I'm just speaking my truth, like from my own experience. That's all I can do, really.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, I find that remarkable, and I find that more and more with different people that I meet in my soul family, because my path was a little bit different. From the age of 20 years old, I was very much on a yogic path with a guru and doing all the various yogic practices and the Vedic teachings and all of that. But actually, I had to sort of awaken out of all of that because that was also, um, it was wonderful, but I didn't deal with maybe some of the emotional healing and things that needed uh, to happen. So in a way, after all of that, I kind of went on more of a journey like that you went on. But I find it fascinating to meet people like you that haven't, had this sort of, formal spiritual practices. When I was growing up, I didn't think there was any other way to kind of spiritual awakening besides having this, practice and teacher. But I do think it's also part of the times. I'm from, a slightly different generation. And I think
Mm,
that during my generation, I think it was very hard for people to wake up by themselves without really strong guidance and teachers. I mean, this is an abstract thought for somebody that hasn't sort of lived in those times, but the way I describe it is, the collective consciousness, the density was way more than it is now. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed over the decades how the density has gotten less. But like,
yeah.
let's say in the um, early 1980s, it was very dense. There wasn't a yoga studio and a Whole Foods organic store on every
Right. Yeah.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I was doing meditation. Just being vegetarian was sort of radical and used to upset people.
Yeah, well, do you know, I wanted to be a vegetarian when I was 7, and my dad was like, "No way, no, you're not. That's not healthy. It's not good for you." And so I had to continue eating meat. Another reason why that was not very nice for my dad is he was a farmer as well. So for his daughter to say she wanted to be a vegetarian, it really hit him in the heart. He was like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, I had a wonderful great aunt, and she really was a wonderful aunt. But she always made a big deal about it when I'd go over for dinner. Like, what are we going to feed you? What are we going to feed you? And I just won't have the chicken. I'll just have the vegetables. But it was every time I go over. But I think then her granddaughter went vegetarian, and then she started to understand it more. Is there any the different periods you go through? Is there a period that you could pinpoint and say that was your dark night of the soul? And when I talk about dark night of the soul, I'm talking about just a really, really difficult periods in our life that it just feels like we're really bottoming out. And I know from my experience that there are many dark nights of the soul. I mean, I can definitely point to a period that was the big dark night of the soul, and then the sort of the mini dark night of the souls come after that.
Totally agree. Yeah.
I mean, I would say my dark night of the soul really intensely started in about 2010 when I got divorced, and then probably went on for about 8 years. But so what about you? I mean, is there
it's very, very similar sort of time actually, and I agree. I've had many dark nights of the soul, but this one really sparked a lot. I guess it was in my life where I really couldn't have got any lower, and that was coming out of the relationship with my daughter's dad. That really hit me so hard, and there was so much going on all at the same time. I had lots of trauma coming forward from a past event. I obviously had the situation of that relationship that was very, very toxic. Metatron decided to come and channel me a lot of information to come in, so I was just writing, not really making a lot of sense. Sandalphon came through as well. I actually didn't have names for them at the time. They were just energies coming through, and I was just writing so much. Loads of poetry coming through. I was trying to explain things to people, and it was just spurting out, and they're like, what are you going on about? Like, what are you saying? Because I'm not sure if this is a common thing. I think it is. Like when you are channeling all this information, obviously it's high energy, so you get very excited and you feel like you want to share it. So it just all comes out, and sometimes it's a little bit jumbled as well, and people are just looking at you like, what is going on there? So yeah, it was very, very difficult coming out of that relationship. I don't know really, it just sort of made me see the world in a completely different way. It's very difficult because, like I said, there was so much happening. I also wanted to end my life at that period as well, because I just felt so boxed in and closed in. I felt like a total failure. I'm now aware that obviously that angelic presence was really there trying to pull me out of that, pull me out of that dark time, and move me into something higher. And then obviously I had the news that I was pregnant as well, which helped to further bring me out of that darkness. Yeah, it's a very, very scary time. I did think I was losing my mind. Seeing lots of visions. I was seeing doctors as well that couldn't really explain what was happening to me. And I'm the kind of person that, having a diagnosis, it doesn't really do anything for me. I don't want to be diagnosed with things. I don't want medication. I want to know how to heal. I want to know how to feel better. And I wasn't really getting that from anybody. The only thing I've learned is through what I've done myself, you know, which is to change my diet and really, you know, go into the mind and see where the mind is messing you up and what's happening. Nobody was teaching me that when I was trying to find help. Like, it was just, this is the label that I'm going to give you now, and take that prescription. And it was just like, well, I don't want that. I want to feel better, and this isn't making me feel better. So that, I think that was probably the spark of me knowing, oh, there's something more here. Like, I'm not getting the answers I want. There's a lot more to this. Like, why am I not feeling very good? Why am I seeing these things that nobody else can see? Why am I not feeling like I fit in the world? Like, it really made me question a lot and go in a lot deeper. So that was the start of it in about, I think it's 2008, and probably did go on until I started really making significant changes in my life. Like I said, you know, off the back of 2012, and I started thinking, I need to be healthy now, and I need to just start making big changes for the better.
Did you, with the relationship, was that a big learning for you about boundaries?
Absolutely, it really was, because I had no boundaries. I realized I had no boundaries. You know, I just let people walk all over me, and I was like, oh, it's all right. You know, I just made excuses for the people. You know, just let them treat me any old way. Because I felt I deserved it. I felt I was a bad person. I felt I deserved everything that I got, and that relationship just further confirmed it. You know, it just yeah, it destroyed me, basically. It did. It just broke me completely down. And I now know that that's part of the journey as well, you know, where you are completely broken down, so that you you rise again. You know, you are a new person. You are reborn. You know, you're a completely different person, because you've took all those bits and built yourself up again into something much better. So it had to happen. It did have to happen, because I couldn't have continued life the way I was. You know, something had to change in a very major way for me to have a huge wake-up call, and that was it. Yeah, and learning boundaries. I didn't understand boundaries. My mum never told me anything about boundaries. I think that's probably part of the family pattern as well. You know, very submissive females. Yeah, so I was learning about that. It changed the whole energetics that now. So my daughter is going to go and form completely different relationships to I did, from what I did, or my mum did, or my grandma did, because yeah, we just weren't taught these things. We didn't know, and if you don't know, like, you don't know. That's something that I like to tell people. You know, don't feel bad about it. How are you supposed to do something if you don't know about it?
Yes, and I think that it's hard to learn without the experience. I mean, almost everyone that I meet has been through some kind of awakening, has been through some kind of relationship where they feel that their boundaries were being crossed in a significant way, or being abused in some significant way. And it can be different types of relationships. I mean, for me, it was actually some were in work situations, and some were, one time was in a household that I was sharing with the children, and the children were issues. So it's not just in a classical sort of interpersonal relationship. Is it something that you work with clients on? Is it something that clients bring to you?
Yeah, it is. Boundaries is definitely something that and moving out of trauma, and understanding, you know, these little things we do to distract ourselves from going in deeper. So I've got a few people that have had certain addictions, you know, and then they've come out of the addiction, they're ready to heal, and that's when I step in then and help them on a more healthier path, and teach them how to deal with their emotions in a healthier way. And that's because, you know, that was part of my path as well, you know, just self-medicate and not dealing with things. And I suppose maybe going into abusive relationships as well, you know, that was part of distracting from doing the work inwardly as well, you know. So that's really where I come in as the coach, is connecting people back to themselves, and instead of going outward and grabbing anything you can to help you feel better, giving them these tools that they can use on themselves that are healthy, they're not toxic, and they're going to have a long-lasting positive impact rather than a negative impact. And it's not going to, you know, hurt their body, it's going to help their body.
Great. A question I have for you, and I think many people are interested in this, is how did you transition from the life you had to being sort of full-time, being a coach and a guide? So I know many young people I meet are kind of interested in this path. They know that they're sensitive and they have gifts, but they may be working in a more sort of kind of let's for want of better words, let's call it kind of matrix type situation, working for a corporation, and they'd like to transition. How did that happen for you?
Well, I kind of got pushed in it, sort of pushed off the deep end, really, because I obviously have my daughter and she's homeschooled, so I couldn't go and get a conventional job and work away from her, because for me, I'm very hands-on. I want to be there for her. I don't want to pay somebody else to literally bring up my child. So I had to find something that was going to work for the lifestyle that I wanted to build for me and my daughter. So I started giving readings on a call center to start with. I actually wouldn't advise that. Wouldn't advise anybody to do that. It's not good when you're a sensitive person. You get all kinds of energies, just literally one after one coming, and it did burn me out. I actually ended up leaving that and then transitioning into full-time coach and doing readings as well. It was really, really scary just to push myself totally out of that. Especially because I'm still in the sort of spiritual closet, so to speak, from my dad. So to explain to him that I'm now doing readings and a spiritual coach, he was a bit fascinated and asking questions, but he's all right with it because he's seen my growth as well. And that is what is so amazing when you decide to be a coach. And I do put people that do readings into that as well, those that are, you know, doing it for all the right reasons. You are a coach, you know, you are a coach, you are sharing your wisdom with others. And when you're on that path, you know, the divine coaches you at the same time as well, you know, because the divine wants you to show up in the best possible place. So we'll always be pushing you a little bit more and pushing you a little bit more. So I would say, if you are still in a matrix job, you know, just do it on the side, you know, maybe start giving readings for people that you trust to start with, you know, that you feel comfortable with, and then take it a little bit further, you know, and then maybe put it out there to maybe those on social media, you know, your community on social media, and let them know what you're doing. Just take it step by step. You don't have to just go straight into it like I did, you know, just take it a little step at a time and build up your confidence. And then if you decide that you want to do it full time, you know, you've built up a little bit of a community, people know what you're doing, and and then the next scary thing is, you know, maybe charging for what you do. That's a very scary thing as well, moving into that role. But it all helps you become a better person. So yeah, I would say to anybody, go for it. If you've got a gift, just given that gift for a reason, you know, not to sit on it, to help the world become a better place. So share it.
Well, that's great advice. One thing that works for me is to consistently put my attention on something that I want to grow, there's a Vedic saying, what you put your attention on grows stronger. That's a whole new whole different topic we could talk about. But in this terms of developing a gift or a new career or a new avenue, I really recommend to people that they do a little bit each day,
Yeah.
even if it's just 15 minutes, and might be reading or studying or practicing,
Yeah,
rather than just
absolutely.
saying, well, I'll do it once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I find is when I do that strategy, the once a week comes around and there's all other competing things that want to take over that time. But the little bit each day, and it's not as important how long that time is. It's more just the consistency of keeping attention
Absolutely,
on
yeah.
it over a
It
long period.
builds that momentum, it builds that momentum and gets the wheels moving. And it also does something to the brain as well, where the brain thinks, oh, we're moving now, so you feel good, you keep that energy going. So yeah, I agree. That's a great tip.
And you work with cards, tarot, or different cards. Can you tell me a little bit about that? You're quite gifted
Yeah,
at that.
yeah.
Very
Well,
gifted.
I'm kind of transitioning out of that now. I was given intuitive readings a lot when I was younger without cards, and then I don't know, because it was like big and scary just to share my gifts. I realized I was sort of hiding behind the cards, which I loved. I love oracle cards. I think they're absolutely amazing because they just, like, you look at them and something pops out, and then you just go with it, and it sort of fills up things that you already knew intuitively, or confirms things that you already knew intuitively. So I do love using cards, but I always make it aware to others through what I learned as well. Make sure that you're not hiding behind the card, make sure that you try and share what you've picked up intuitively first, and then you'll get confirmation from the card rather than the other way, because then it kind of suppresses your gift in a way, and you do lose more confidence that way as well. So although cards are an amazing tool, yeah, don't rely on them. Like, allow your gift to come through as well.
That's very interesting. I'm using cards a lot less. In fact, I hardly look at my cards these days.
Yeah, I
Time.
actually got rid of most of mine this year. I gifted them out to people. So I think I got a little bit addicted to them actually. I had so many decks, and I think I've only got maybe 4 or 5 left now.
I know that. I know that. Yeah, people collect decks and collect decks in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to touch on just the present moment and the present moment in the world. And the last few months have been 2020 have been very different, and the the things that we had to deal with, the things that most of us haven't dealt with before. How has it been for you, and what are the blessings have been in this situation, and what advice do you have for people as we move through these times? And that, that was about 5 questions in one. It's a bit unfair, but
Yeah.
let me break it down. How's it been? How's it been for you?
Well, I am totally blessed in this whole situation. I believe I am definitely one of the lucky ones. I also feel that maybe my 2020 came a little bit earlier to everybody else's, because in 2018, I lost my main form of income, which actually was doing the readings on the call center. So I literally was, then all I have is to get myself out there and tell people that I'm a coach. Subsequently, I wasn't able to pay my rent, so I ended up becoming homeless. So I understand exactly what many people are going through right now, where it is scary, so much uncertainty. You don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But that situation took me to come and live back with my mum. So staying with my mum right now, and I'm so thankful for that, because I've got somewhere lovely to live. there is stability here. I know I'm not going to lose this home, and it's allowed me to not have the stress that I had in 2018 as well of where's the money going to come from. You know, I can just concentrate on what I need to concentrate on. Yeah, it is a time of great uncertainty, but I know through my own experience that it is going to get better. You know, a lot of people can't see that right now, but this year has gifted us so much insight and awareness and opened people's eyes up to things that they just didn't know was going on. So although there's a lot of uncertainty and it's very scary, there's actually a lot of good stuff going on at the same time. And when you start actually starting to look in that direction, this year doesn't start to look half as bad as what it does on paper. And I learned that little trick in 2018 as well, you know, coming out of that, because it was like on paper, my life looks a little bit of a mess, but like I feel amazing. I never had so much confidence than I have right now. My health is absolutely amazing. And I know a lot of other people are going to come out of 2020 feeling exactly the same way. They're going to feel okay on paper, like everything's fallen away, you know, the tower moment. They've maybe lost their home, they maybe have had to move somewhere else or change how they were living, but it will be for a reason, and it will help them move into something much more in alignment with where they're truly meant to be as well. So I think for all of us, it's a case of trying to move out of fear as much as possible and be there for everybody, and show people as well, you know, that there is another way of seeing things.
Yes, it's remarkable. I mean, the experiences that we've gone through in the last year, and I think the awakening for all of us. I feel that it is a gift in many ways. If you think about all the various spiritual traditions always have some aspect of retreat. And we talked earlier about the cycles. I mean, that there's natural cycles in life. So in spiritual traditions, spiritual practices, there's always the retreat, which is creating that period of silence or reflection or withdrawal from the world. And I was just thinking the other day about you know, the saints in the Himalayas. They lived in caves, and I was a monk for quite some time, and so out of the world, and just in a retreat, in a period of silence. And I think you know, for the many people in the mass population, this is the first time where they really slowed down. A lot of them slowed down and got to disconnect from the fast world. And a little bit like you, in a way, changes that happened in my life before prepared me for this. For example, I have a very simple lifestyle. I mean, I consider my lifestyle to be like an outlier lifestyle. I'm not really hooked into the matrix systems as much as many people. And I live in a rural area, and it's very quiet. And leading up to all of this, the last few years, I was thinking, I really want to get out of town and travel a bit and go and see the world. And I wasn't able to, mainly just for economic reasons, really. And hello. And when all this thing hit, is that, oh wow, this is like perfection. You know, the universe has organized my life in such a perfect way to go through this, and that really kind of surprised me, and that sort of leads me to just a piece of wisdom is that, you know, everything leads to the next thing. Every experience.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and
my life has led me in that same direction as well, because I don't really go out socializing that much. You know, being out in nature is my sort of place to be. And I also homeschool as well, so there hasn't been an awful lot of disruption. Obviously, work from home, I don't have to commute. You know, I don't have to really go anywhere or travel anywhere. You know, everything is set up to be at home. So I'm very fortunate in that way as well. You know, that life circumstances of my life has very much set me up in a way where I'm okay going through this. So like I said, I do feel very fortunate and very blessed that life has happened that way for me.
Yes, and all compassion to everyone that has or will go through something dramatic during these times where they might lose their livelihood or their place of living. And I've been homeless. I don't really like to use that word because I just went and stayed with friends, and it was very, very comfortable. You know, it's not like a person being on the street, but from an egoic point of view, it was shattering not to be able to take care of myself. I had to rely on friends while I got back on my feet. But it's like you said, that your mother
Yeah, she brought me in. This is actually the second time that I've been homeless as well, and I don't class where I am now as homeless, but I have been in a place where I was very fortunate. I had nowhere to go, and I was basically going to stay near a church, you know, for the night, and it was in Scotland, and it was very, very cold. I actually phoned the police and let them know my situation. That was when I was coming out of that toxic relationship. So I was put in a homeless shelter. It wasn't the nicest place, but again, the angels must have been looking out for me, because I was so lucky to have a roof over my head. Things could have been a lot worse for me. I realized that was part of the journey as well, you know, of having no self-worth and not feeling that I belonged. It really did project out into my reality then, you know, where I was living what I was thinking. So yeah, I'm very lucky right now. And again, I don't really, although you'd say homeless, I don't believe I am homeless now, because I'm staying with my mum. So it's a very different situation to what it was before, because I had no one. My parents sort of distanced themselves from me because of that relationship. I literally, I couldn't go back home at that point. I had nowhere to go. It was a very scary time. That was during that dark night of the soul as well. You know, it literally was everything just happened all at once.
And thanks for sharing that and being vulnerable, you know, to sharing about these experiences you have. And that's what I want to do on this show is to talk to people about some of the more difficult experiences they have, so that people watching and listening they can see themselves in this experience. And if they're going through something, they can see, oh, okay, they did it, they went through it, and they're shining, and the light shining, even though they've been through those things. And sort of on that point, do you have any advice or guidance for people sort of right now? Maybe they're going into another lockdown, or things are in flux with the world situation. What would you say to them?
I would just say, you know, it's a time for us all to really tune into faith, however that looks for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be religious or spiritual. You know, it could be faith in yourself, it could be faith in life, it could be, you know, faith in whatever. But tune in with the energy of faith, and also tune in with the energy of trust, and also look after yourself and honor how you feel. You know, if you feel frightened, honor that, you know, be there for yourself, or talk it through with somebody if you can. You know, it's okay to be scared, it's okay to you know, wonder what is going to happen, you know, but we've got to be there for one another right now, because there is a lot of vulnerable people. There's a lot of people that don't really fully understand what is happening. You know, it might be the first time ever, you know, where they have faced uncertainty, where they don't know what is coming tomorrow, where they realize, you know, that they're so fragile, you know, that life is fragile. So that can alter people in so many different ways. It can lead to anxiety and depression, and you may be acting out of character. So I think basically just be there for one another, and learn to be okay with being vulnerable. It's okay to speak your truth. Obviously you've got to find the right people to open up to, but there is people there. There's so many of us here, waiting, for you to open up to and speak your truth to. So yeah, I would say tune in with faith, energy, and trust, and yeah, just be okay with saying however you feel. It's okay. Whatever you feel is okay. If you feel angry, it's okay to feel angry. These are extraordinary times. They're unusual times. They can be difficult and challenging. So, we have to learn how to adapt as well. We have to learn how to be flexible and not be so rigid. If life has totally changed, we need to learn how to go with those changes rather than be like, oh, well, life's not happening the way that it normally happens, and letting it knock you out of balance. Go with the changes. Find new ways, get creative.
Yes, and I think one thing is certain is that it's not going back to the way it was before.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there is no going back. And I think it's making people aware just how not good it was, in the past, that we were putting up with a lot of things that weren't good for us. We were living toxic lifestyles, and not really doing life the way that life is intended to be lived. So yeah, absolutely. There's no going back. No going back.
Great. And it is an amazing time, and I watched different guides on YouTube, and one video I was watching from Magenta Pixie, and she said 3 lockdowns and 3 awakenings, which I found very interesting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the world is going into a second lockdown.
Yeah.
And I think there's more awakening each time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure that message came through to me in 2004 as well, that it would be 3 waves. And I've heard other people afterwards mention, the 3 waves of awakening. So it makes sense, that it's in correlation with these lockdowns, that it would spark an awakening and further awakening. So yeah.
Yes, and something that Jack and Hobbs said on a recent video. Jack and Hobbs is known as Oracle Girl, and she was saying, the more pressure you're put under, the stronger you're going to get. And I know people are feeling pressure. I watch the UK a lot, and I know there's a lot of people are feeling a lot of pressure there with the lockdowns. And people are feeling pressure with the thing that we're not allowed to say on YouTube, the jab in the arm. And I've just been talking to some friends about this just in this last week, and just reminding them, like what Jacqueline said, the more pressure we put under, the stronger we're going to get, to the point that we're going to get so strong, we're going to break the chains.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also helping people reconnect to their body as well, and having faith in the body again. And it's making people learn about themselves and their body and how the body works too, which is an amazing thing. Because I think we've sort of been taught just to take it for granted, or the first sign of issues or trouble, and just go straight to the doctor, or just get a prescription. And it's making a lot of people go onto a new path now, onto a more natural path and more holistic path, and seek out new ways of staying healthy, or dealing with ailments and issues, which is a good thing as well.
Great. This has just been a wonderful conversation. And again, I really appreciate your vulnerability and sharing deeply about your life. I really think people are going to find that very meaningful and helpful.
Oh, thank you. It's been lovely to come on and speak to you. It's a pleasure. So thank you.
And if somebody's inspired by you and your journey, would like to work with you, how can they connect with you?
You can find me on Twitter at Nayalla1111. My website is nayalla.wixsite.com. Also YouTube, you can find me on YouTube, Nayalla, or you can email me, nayalla@yahoo.com. And I've also got a support group on Discord as well, which is totally free. That's for anybody basically that needs a little bit of support, or is going through a spiritual awakening, or is maybe struggling through the winter months as well. Just come and say hi. There's a great group of people in there. If you want to come and join, then just leave me an email or find me on Twitter, and you're more than welcome.
Wonderful, and I'll put some of that information in the description, so people can find you just by clicking. And yeah, that's awesome. You have a huge heart, and I recommend anybody to connect with you. Great.
Thank you so much.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Nayalla.
Thank you, Guy.